Tonight on Let It Rip.
They're leaving to get this unemployment, and it's definitely what's stopping people from applying for jobs.
Where are all the workers? Businesses complain they can't compete with the generous unemployment benefits that some people are getting, and that something has to change. But others say those businesses would be flooded with workers if they actually paid a living wage. But first,
policymakers are giving in to an ideology that simply ignores biological reality and denies equal opportunities to women.
It's a lot of fear-mongering, sort of almost mob mentality to go after this teeny tiny group of kids.
A new effort in Lansing to stop transgender athletes from competing in certain high school sports. Is it blatant discrimination or an attempt to level the playing field? Time to Let It Rip. On the panel tonight, Michigan's Teacher of the Year, loved and respected by his students and colleagues. He also happens to be the first transgender person to receive that honor. Owen Bondano is here. Also back with us, Republican Party leader and recently announced candidate for Secretary of State. She made that announcement on Let It Rip, by the way, Christina Caramo. Along with Jaleesa Abad, the Director of Transgender Advocacy and Victim Advocate for the Fair Michigan Justice Project. And as always, anchor attorney Charlie Langton. But we begin tonight with State Senator Jim Runstead, the Republican from White Lake, who co-sponsored the effort to keep certain transgender athletes out of high school sports. And Jim, most people didn't even know this was a problem. What will this proposed bill do?
Well, this bill says that if you have sports that are listed as either gender, oftentimes, for instance, football. There are women kickers on football. So there's no prohibition to doing it. There's some danger involved for women who get involved, like, say the running back or a position like that. They can try out for those. Generally, they don't, because there's a real danger of injury. There are sports, however, that traditionally have been basically male-only sports, and women have not had the opportunity to compete in those. And the examples are like running, basketball, all kinds of sports that women traditionally didn't have an outlet. They didn't have a place to go play. So in this case, these are listed as women-only sports. If you have a woman-only sport, you can't allow a biological male to come in and compete. There is no way that biological females are going to compete with biological males on an even field. It is impossible.
Well, Owen, you were among the first people called to testify at a hearing regarding this bill, but the hearing was canceled before you got a chance. If you could have spoken that day, what would you say? What do you want the people to know now?
Well, I find it interesting that you said that many people aren't aware this is a problem. And that's because, frankly, it isn't a problem. The Michigan High School Sports Association has a policy in place that evaluates on a case-by-case basis whether or not a transgender child can play on the team of their gender identity or not. And that's because it's not true that there's always going to be an advantage to being born male. Sometimes, when we think about a trans girl, the image that pops into many people's minds is someone who grew up as a boy, went through a male puberty, and then transitioned. There are many cases now where trans girls know very young, and their parents put them on hormone blockers when they're, around age 12, and so they don't experience a male puberty. And there are some advantages, sure, if you're trying out for the wrestling team, then being big and bulky is going to be an advantage. But if you're trying out for a dance team, maybe that's less of an advantage. So it also depends on what sport the athlete is trying to play. So they have a policy in place already that makes sure that every student is treated as fairly as possible. So we don't need a sweeping law like this. And also, this sweeping law tells all transgender students that they don't get to be their authentic selves and keep doing the things they love to do. They have to choose between being who they want to be and doing a thing they love, like a sport.
But that's not, I'm sorry, that's just not accurate. They can be themselves. No one has a problem with that. They can compete as boys do on a boy team. They compete on those gender teams that accept both genders. But what we're dealing with is a situation that's coming to Michigan, like in Connecticut. There was a young lady, Selena Sewell. She was the best runner in the state of Connecticut. No female could come close to her. She spent her whole life shaving off seconds to become the best. Two boys who were average runners declared they were transgender. They swept all the state records. This is very recently. They get all the scholarships, all the records. all the grandeur that was taken from her. And if she complained about, she said she was bullied relentlessly. So this is the direction that a lot of states are going if we don't protect these women's sports.
Does
But
that
the bottom line, go ahead.
high school association?
The bottom line, though, look, let me bring Christina here, because Christina, this is personal for you too. You were an athlete. You played basketball, high school and college. But the Michigan High School Athletic Association says banning people because of their gender is unnecessary, and we don't have the problem in Michigan right now.
Well, I think it's a false narrative that we're banning people. We're saying that people should compete according to their biological sex. As Senator Rumstead pointed to the case in Connecticut, also we saw at Franklin Pierce University, a guy who competed as a man, bottom of the list, and suddenly his senior year, he's decided that he's a woman, and now he's at the top of the list and swept NCAA track and field. And there's a reason we don't see hordes of biological women going into men's sports. And hormones do not change certain biological realities, such as bone structure. They don't change the fact that men have bigger hearts, bigger lungs. They don't change any of that. And so it's unfair that our foremothers paved the way for women to have safe spaces for us to compete athletically. Now we have biological men saying that they are going to come into our spaces and we need to sit down and shut up because they can do so. And because we as women need to understand that they are allowed to be in that space. And it's not because we dislike anybody or wish harm on anybody, it's for the safety and well-being of women. And that is so unfair that we are painted as bigots simply because we want to keep women and girls safe. So now we have a new class of men who want to oppress women. But simply because these men wear women's clothing, it's okay. That's wrong.
Jaleesa, some women are complaining that a transgender woman from New Zealand may be allowed to compete in the Olympic weightlifting competition. Now, that woman born a man is stronger at birth. If she wins, is that fair?
We had this conversation last time, and I was really hoping that Christina would have educated herself since then till now. And I see that hasn't happened. Like Owen articulated, not every case is the same. And there's cisgender women that are 6 feet, that have bigger bone structures, that have nothing to do with playing a sport. And we don't say to them, because you're bigger or taller, it's a disadvantage. Let's also talk about the reality. This is for youth. This isn't for adults. Trans women of color are out here being slaughtered and are trying to survive, not play sports. So what we're saying to the youth is that you cannot get the same advantage in a world where they're already marginalized. What this really is about is parents thinking that they're trans or that their kid is going to have a disadvantage going against a trans person, which is ironic because we don't have advantages in any course of life. But I think Christina needs to educate herself because she keeps referring to transgender women as men, and that's not the reality.
There cannot be one bill that says it all. You've got to take a case-by-case basis. I think it depends on a lot of factors. If the man transitioning is taking hormones, the body changes, how can that be fair to compete? Listen, you can't just have one size fits all on this. I think you've got to take a case-by-case basis. There are some sports, perhaps, where it may be okay, others not. And so to make a blanket rule, I think is not right here.
Owen, let me get back to you, all right? Because I think you present a calmer perspective about what's really going on. It is difficult for most people in this country to understand and to rationalize the situation. We think it's okay if we see a young high school female kicker become a great star or possibly a pitcher. We have no problem with that. But I think most people are uncomfortable when we see men who call themselves women competing in sports in which their biological strength and agility gives them an advantage. Owen, what do you say to that?
Well, first of all, this is not a case of men calling themselves women. Trans women are women. Trans girls are girls. Also, I find it disturbing that we keep using the word biological men and we keep calling them men in this discussion when we're talking about high school children. It's painting a narrative that we're somehow pitting fully grown adult men against helpless little girls, which doesn't help the situation at all. I think that if most people met someone transgender, they would know that they are just a human being trying to live their lives. and they are not trying to take anything away from anybody else. They're not trying to hurt anybody else. And that's why this has to be a case-by-case basis. As I said earlier, certain sports, the same physical attribute may be a benefit to one sport and it may be a detriment to another. Everybody's body is different, especially when it comes to being transgender. It depends on when you first seek medical treatment. Some people do or don't ever seek medical treatment. And so trans bodies are extremely different. There's no way to make a sweeping bill. So the only thing a sweeping bill does is communicate that we don't care about transgender kids in this state. And as somebody who is both the Michigan Teacher of the Year and a transgender person, I've had lots of people in my career tell me that I could not be both of those things, that nobody would want a transgender person in front of their students. And so I am living proof that it's possible to be both things, even when people think that it's not. And I had to fight tooth and nail in some cases to get the job that I have, to get the career that I have, and to be good at this job. And I'm good at this job. And I don't want anybody else transgender to have to fight for the things that they're good at and that they love.
It's wonderful that this gentleman, one second, it's wonderful this gentleman is a teacher, a great teacher, has that opportunity. I celebrate that. No one here is suggesting at all that that transgender people should be treated poorly. Conflating a law that is just trying to protect women in a specific set of sports doesn't cast aspersion on everyone, including these women who want the titles that they have earned. As an example, this is not just about kids. The fastest runner, the champion Olympic runner, the best in the world, Tori Bowie's 100-meter lifetime best was beat in 2017 when they looked at it by 15,000 boys and men. The same is true with Alex Felix. Just one second. With Alex Felix, the best 400-meter runner in the world, woman, could be beaten easily by any of 15,000 boys. If just one of them, a mediocre boy runner, says that they're going to be competing as a transgender, they lose everything.
That is not happening in Michigan right now. And so,
but it's happened. It happened in Connecticut. It happened in Connecticut.
It is not happening in Michigan.
Athletics Association.
It happened in
the Michigan High School Athletic Association has made it clear, and perhaps you should listen to the governing body before we act on laws that may injure people
so you're saying
who identify as either men or women.
You're saying that cannot happen here.
I'm not saying it cannot. I'm saying that. But look, we got to go, guys. This issue is certainly not complete, not finished. We'll have much more to come as this bill progresses through the legislature. We appreciate your comments and your insights. But right now, we've got another hot issue. Where are all the workers? There are thousands of jobs available, but not enough people willing to apply. Why? That and more when Let It Rip continues. Welcome back to RIP. With us right now, a lifelong soldier in the battle against poverty and inequality. She is the state chairperson for the Michigan Welfare Rights Organization. Maureen Taylor is here. And so is another woman who's devoted her life to helping people find employment. She's the CEO of Jackets for Jobs, Workforce Development, Allison Vaughn. You've already met Jim and Charlie, and now it's time to meet the Sausage King. Anthony Peters is the owner of Smith Meatpacking and the Detroit Sausage Company. And tonight he's here begging for workers. Tony, how bad is it out there right now?
Oh, it's pretty bad, Huel. Pretty bad. I've never seen anything like this. I've been doing it since I was 19 years old and started off in the Eastern Market where we also own Detroit Sausage Company and LKL Packing Company. And the Detroit Sausage Company is short, probably 30% workers. And then Smith Meatpacking, we have two factories where we make bacon. And you all like bacon, up in Port Huron, Michigan. And we have been from 50 people, we have been down as far as 18, having 18 people show up for work.
How much do you pay? Can I ask?
Our jobs pay anywhere from $12.50 an hour up to $30 an hour, depending on what position that you're in. And,
well, Allison, go ahead.
Well, with this, the unemployment and everything going on, the people are not coming to work. We do everything to get them there. We, bonus money, whatever it takes. We need workers, and we're not seeing anybody.
Well, Allison, you've helped thousands of men and women find work over the years, giving them jackets and dresses that they need to find a job. But I hear these days you're having a hard time finding the people to give the clothes to.
That is so true. We can't even find the people to come. Jackets for Jobs, we've been around the city of Detroit for 21 years, providing any type of help that are barriers to employment, whether it's childcare, transportation, clothing to help job seekers, and they're not coming to work. They'd rather stay at home and receive this unemployment insurance money. So it's easier for them to stay home, get this money, than to take a bus, try to get to a job that's only paying $12 an hour.
Exactly.
So that's probably why he's having a hard time, is because they'd rather stay at home and collect this money than to go to work. Would you agree with that, sausage guy?
100%. I agree with you. 100%. You know, it's unbelievable.
Well, more than half the states in the country right now have voted to cut off or cut back on unemployment benefits exactly because of the problems that Allison and Tony are talking about. They're complaining that some people are making more money by sitting at home. What do you say to that?
Are you talking to Maureen?
Yes.
Are you sure you're talking to Maureen? You want me to answer that?
I want you to let it rip.
Oh, let's let it rip then. My two colleagues that just spoke, I know they're very passionate and very hardworking people, but they may be a little bit unclear about what's going on. There's a lag in terms of what's happening. You can't forget that in January, February, and March of 2020, people suddenly came to the conclusion that they were being separated from their jobs. And nobody saw that coming. I didn't know that that was coming. I'm talking about early in the pandemic in 2020. And it took March, April, May. You remember there were food lines all across the country where people were separated from their jobs. It was extremely difficult. So people are going to come to you both. They are, but they're going to need to catch up on what it is that they didn't have those 2 or 3 or 4 months when the pandemic first started to strangle us. I mean, we have to just really take a look. Anybody that's working minimum wage, and I heard the gentleman, you're paying more than that, but folks that are paying minimum wage and they want a dishwasher, and not to say anything ugly about a dishwasher, but we're talking about after taxes maybe earning about $300 a week. Okay, right now, if you're eligible for full unemployment, $362 plus an additional $300, that means $660. You needed to recover from the food you couldn't buy, the bills you couldn't pay, those kinds of transportation needs and whatnot. So people should stay away, make certain that their finances are okay, because once these extensions and the benefits go away, they won't be coming back. So don't be discouraged. Folks are coming. I know a lot of people that are lining up and getting prepared to go to work. So if you can't find them, I'll get a hold of you and I'll send good workers.
Is that going to be before or after the companies are closed because there's nowhere to work?
Exactly.
Anthony's absolutely correct. What's happening is that all across this nation and in Michigan, these small businesses cannot find the workers, and even larger businesses. And they're estimating about 30% of our small businesses are going to go out of business. So those jobs aren't going to returning. CNN said that 40% of the people are making more on unemployment than they ever did while they're working. These people are going to come back to work when they made more to sit at home than they ever did when they're working. If we don't get this under control, we're going to have a mass failure of our small businesses in this nation. And it's going to be catastrophic because there's not going to be jobs to go back to. Our economy is going to crash.
It's already happening.
Get turned off.
It's already happening. My box manufacturer can't even deliver me boxes for me to put the bacon in. He's bringing them on a daily basis. J&M Packaging in Warren, Michigan gave me the permission to use his name because he's dying for workers too. And then his supplier can't get him the material. This is all over the country. This is a disaster.
What happened?
And that's true.
But, you know,
it's a disaster, 100% true.
This is to me an opportunity for somebody to get a job. The good people, the good workers will work. You know what?
And they have.
And the bad workers, marginal workers before, they're marginal now. To me, if I was looking for work during this pandemic, this is where I'd want to be. Take the jobs because the boss will really You're working through this. You're helping this company stay afloat. And you know what? You are going to be rewarded. I can't stand people that just don't want to work because they're getting more money. There's more to a job than just money part of it. There's the camaraderie.
You know what, Charlie, you
doing something good. And Maureen, I love you,
Charlie,
Maureen.
you shocked me when you say that. Charlie, you shocked me when you say that. Okay, you really do, because I feel and I think better of you and more and stronger about you. We're not talking about people that prefer to quote unquote grab handouts. We're talking about people that are trying to recover from the worst period of their lives. And I'll say to Miss Allison and I'll say to Anthony, both of you, just hold on. Workers are getting.
We have no choice.
Hold on, Anthony, I'm still a lady. Hold on, Anthony, I'm still a lady. Mm-hmm. Workers are coming. They're trying to balance their books. They're trying to get the light bill, the gas bill, all of these things ready. Miss Allison, they'll be coming in your direction. I got lists of workers and whatnot that want to go back to work. They are now just trying to make up for the horrendous economic failures that they suffered. Right around the end of June, right around July.
Can I ask you a simple question, honey? Simple question.
All businesses are in trouble, but so are individual homeowners. So
I have a simple question for you. I want to know what you're talking about as far as what does them staying home have to do with them recovering? Working and making money is the same as staying home and getting free money.
No. Let me tell you what folks are doing. Why? What I mean when I say at home.
Oh, I lost it.
We're losing things too.
A college degree. They're looking to see what kind of credential they can get that they weren't able to get before, but they might be able to get it now because there's a little bit more money. So the person, Mr. Anthony, that you're paying $15, $16 an hour, if there's this one credential that they need that can boost them up to $21, $22, this might be the first time they can get it. That's all I'm saying. You guys got to be patient. They're coming back.
My daughter's a nurse. She's going to become a nurse practitioner. She's working at the hospital. After she gets home from the hospital, she does clinicals. After clinicals, she does her homework.
Yep.
She does her homework. I don't agree with what you're saying at all, to be honest with you.
Well, you don't agree because
I respect you, but I don't agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, but you're only talking about examples that you know of. When this program is over and I'll get in contact with you and I'll come and pick you up and show you what's going on out here.
I know I don't know anything. I've been in business for 41 years. I've been in business for 41 years.
Well, look, maybe we have a solution tonight. Maureen and Anthony, you guys should get together. And Maureen, you provide Anthony with
a list of folks. Yes, I can do that.
As soon as possible. Send them tomorrow.
All right, and maybe then we can solve this problem.
Yeah, I would love it.
We thank you for your comments and insights. Hopefully, final thoughts to them.
Thank you.
Time for final thoughts, beginning with Anthony. Go.
I think this problem could have been solved if the government maybe would have paid the employer to pay the employees. That with like a bonus or something. That way, it would have kept everybody working. I think it would have solved this whole issue.
Allison.
Jackets for Jobs has been around for 21 years as a workforce development. We help all kind of people that are unemployed and job seekers. So Jackets for Jobs is here for those that are unemployed. Check us out. We'll help you get back to work.
Maureen.
Well, I think we should focus ourselves on fighting poverty and not the poor. I agree. It would have been better for people to have been paid up front and told at the end of 6 months, we'll get you together so you can return to work. Let's stop being hateful to each other.
Jim.
I'd first like to say that Maureen is correct on one thing, and that is when these subsidies end, these people will come back to work. And secondly, I want to thank my beautiful wife, Kathy Runstead, for giving me the time to do this on her birthday.
I think that's the perfect way to end it. We thank you all for watching this edition of Let It Rip.